So I haven't been posting as many videos recently. I've really been consumed by the so-called speculative realist movement. I've been reading the books of philosophers like Graham Harman, Quentin Quentin Meillassoux, uh, his fellow Ray Brassier. Um, I'm about to read Philosophies of Nature After Schelling by Ian Hamilton Grant. And what all these thinkers have in common is affiliation with the speculative realist movement. And speculative realism is a term for really a loose affiliation between these thinkers because they don't all agree about some pretty fundamental things. But what they do agree about is the need to transform philosophy, post-Kantian philosophy, the need to move beyond this sort of skeptical um, compromise that Kant uh, articulated between science and religion, really, or you could say between empiricism and rationalism, or between materialism and spiritualism. Whatever the dichotomy is, it's a dichotomy, and speculative realism is an attempt to um, return to a kind of metaphysical philosophy, but not of the dogmatic sort that Kant critiqued, but a metaphysics that is responsive to experience and that participates in process, in becoming, um, and that is held accountable to uh, the sensual world, to our aesthetic judgment. Um, and Kant, in his final critique, did begin to recognize the need for a science of sensuality or science of aesthetics. And Schiller and Schelling, I think, developed this latent potential in Kant's thought towards a more speculative and a more realist philosophy that didn't isolate human knowing from the being in itself of nature, of the cosmos. But instead, as Schelling articulated, nature itself became the working out of thinking, the working out of thinking's desire to know itself and to grasp itself. And so, Schelling puts nature into process, a process of development, and in a sort of embryonic way, matter and space-time itself grows into and intensifies and complexifies in such a way that it comes to grasp its own creative potential and actualize it. Nature becomes invisible spirit, or rather, spirit is made visible in nature, as nature, and yet it transcends it because nature as given, nature as a product, is not equivalent to spirit, but nature as a process, as a creative motion and dynamism. You could say that is also spirit, I think. And so this is a sort of speculative realism that's in contrast to a very different sort, which is Ray Brassier's. He's an eliminative materialist and thinks that rather than elevate nature to the dignity of thought, that nature should be understood through mathematical empirical science as an object in itself, devoid of meaning, um, which is to say there's no telos, so there's no embryonic development of some sort of preformed um, essence. There is no essence. There's only the contingency of mere existence. Um, this book is called Nihil Unbound, and he asks us to consider the possibility of human extinction, which is to say the complete annihilation of consciousness. He thinks that this would erase meaning from the universe as well. And I wanted to actually started recording this video in order to read a blog that I just posted. I haven't been on YouTube lately because I've been blogging a lot and reading a lot. And recently, a friend of mine over at a blog called Knowledge Ecology posted something about the difference between academic publishing in book form and blogging. A lot of the speculative realists who do hold academic posts and who have published books also run blogs. And this discussion on the nature of communication and the way that thinking is shaped by the medium and the media through which it is communicated got me to thinking about philosophical thought and how it may be grounded in a sort of pre-cognitive matrix of culturally inherited meaning. And as a sort of response to Brassier, I wrote this blog, and I wanted to read it here. It's called The Ears, Eyes, and Mind of the Word or World. What is language, and how did it evolve? The flurry of recent posts concerned with media ecology and the way the content of philosophical thinking depends upon the form in which it is expressed has redirected my attention to the significance of the word. I think grammatically, which is to say that my alphabetic consciousness, whether text or hypertext based, conforms to a pre-conscious regime of universally imposed rules of meaning. I cannot think but by assuming the meaningfulness of the public language given to me at birth. I cannot get beyond the givenness of this language in order to inspect its legitimacy. I can only explore it from within. Language has no outside. Truth, then, is a matter of coherence rather than correspondence, or at least philosophical thinking cannot begin but by having faith in the meaning-making capacity of its culturally inherited tongue. Contra Brassier, intelligibility cannot be separated from meaning. Wisdom can be reached with logic, but logic itself originates in the songs of the mouth and the perception and passion of the heart and ears. Science has telescoped vision and mathematized reason to reach distances divine in time. But it has not found chaos and disorder, even at the edge of the universe. There, at the end of time as we know it, the scientific imagination witnesses the creation of space in itself. Mind you, this is not the creation of any thing in particular, but the creation of the very possibility of there being things at all. Scientific consciousness has now known its own conditions of possibility. Brassier believes this entails nihilism. He believes it, despite his eliminativist ploy to elevate cognition beyond its contextual emergence out of folk psychology or common sense. The fact is that our having come to see and to understand that our universe has a beginning in space-time is no demotion of the human being. The speculative claims of scientific investigation are still dependent upon the meaning of language, even if mathematical, and the sensuality of the body, even if technologically extended. Scientific cosmology is only disorienting if aesthetic participation in the phenomena it has revealed lags behind their cognitive theorization. Not only has human finitude been thought, it has been seen, and seen through. And what a sublime sight! We can witness the creation of our finite universe and know nonetheless that this universe is unbounded. Space is not inside of or given within a bigger space. It has no outside. Space is self-forming. The world is full of the Word. Uh, yeah, I'll post a link to that in the description. This is an attempt to sort of integrate my blog with my YouTube page. So check out the blog and discover the way that the alphabet, when read, can provide a sort of consciousness that accesses a dimension of truth, a dimension of reality that the spoken word really can't. I mean, there's a level of abstraction and sort of impersonal perception that reading will provide that this sort of communication lacks. And I think there are many benefits to this sort of video type of exchange. But philosophy may require both the interpersonal and the impersonal. The interpersonal speech act exchange, the dialogue, the conversation, and the impersonal textual alphabetic mode that is writing. So let me know what you think about all these crazy ideas. I'd appreciate it, and thanks for listening.